Any day now.
There we go. Brothers. And you proud
At
of
first, I thought he was cutting out.
I thought he was too. That was good. That was really
That
good.
was really good.
Thank you. I was proud of that one, actually. Welcome to a story not go Galaxy far, far away, but rather right here on Earth, where you're listening to it in your 2020, the year of our Lord. It's comic book was brought by it's Rundown Reviews brought to you by the comic book romance. Why don't you just change the name, Joey? Why don't you just change the name and make this year for me?
We'll see.
Okay. Well, anyway,
we'll see.
Hi, I'm the person who is a story as a Wookiee. I'm Chuck. Yeah, massacred it in a pit monster.
Well, you're very robot-y, just say.
100%. I don't have any idea what you said past the.
Really? Still robot-y?
Yeah, it's still bad, my dude.
I'm at the point where I'm gonna smile and nod if you refer to me because I have no idea what you're saying.
I have no idea.
Like Domo arigato there, Mr. Roboto.
You want me to do a restart? See how I'll fix it?
Good. Good.
Second.
You go ahead and do that. We're going to continue on. So, yes, we watched Solo, a Star Wars story from 2018. I know I've seen this one a few times. Jordan, you've seen this probably a handful of times.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Ron, you finally watched it all the way through.
Yeah, technically I've seen it twice, sort of.
Did you watch it? You didn't see it in theaters, right?
No, fuck no.
Okay.
You know, funny? This movie, when I saw in theaters, this is the first episode, the first time I hung out with Cam from my old podcast. We invited him and Colfen of Colfen Enterprises from our show. I met them at a brewery the week before. I said, hey, do you guys like Star Wars? We're going to go see Solo, a Star Wars story next week, and then we're going to do a podcast on it. Do you guys want to come? So literally that episode was like almost the first time I had met both of them. And then Cam just never left the show for 3 years.
Yeah, that tracks. So what was your initial thoughts the first time you watched it, Jordan?
Well, I guess you can go back on record and see my thoughts, and maybe I'll be contradicting.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I don't. You got rid of the podcast. I know it's gone now.
I know. It's funny because 2018, it doesn't feel like it's that long ago. I'm like, wow, that's not that old of a movie, but that's 6 years. That's actually a little while. So
I did see a video where it's like if Martin McFly went back to the future, or back in the past today, he'd be going back to 1993.
I hate
94.
I hate when they say stuff like that. It just it feels weird, but. Anyway. I remember thinking this movie was fine when I first saw it. It was like, okay, cool, entertaining enough, few Easter eggs, fun stuff. Then I remember the second time watching it being like, yeah, this movie is not good. It's like kind of like really weird and dumb. And then watching it this time, I changed my mind a little bit. I was like, actually, this is a really fun movie.
Okay. I know because it was not Skywalker centric, I think I enjoyed it more that way. Although I know that there's a bunch of behind the scenes stuff with directors coming and going and them changing things up a little bit. I feel like when they brought in Ron Howard, they made it a little bit more of a serious movie.
Yes.
Where Lord and Miller were going to have a little bit more of a comedic heist movie.
Yeah.
Well,
if you look at
there's still elements there.
Yeah. If you look at Lord and Miller's stuff, though, I mean, all their stuff's comedic. And I feel like so much had to change because I thought I heard Ron Howard had to refilm 80% of the movie to get so that Lord and Miller wouldn't get the credit for directing.
I think what it is they had to redirect, or he had to redirect 90% to be labeled director.
Gotcha.
He only did 80, and then they compromised and put Lord and Miller as EPs.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. But yeah, you could totally tell this is supposed to be a funnier movie, and they took itself a little too seriously.
Yeah. Ron, I know this is... So explain why it took you forever to watch this movie.
Okay, so first off, I found this movie kind of boring. Mostly because, and I realized this a little over halfway through the second watching of it, all the important people, I know they survive. Like Chewbacca, I know he makes it.
That's it. That's all you care about.
Oh, I
But
see.
no.
Just the only important person in the movie.
Well, no, because Han bites it later, but that's
Wow.
But no, like I mean, you're right. But like Han Solo, Lando, Chewie, they all make it. Everybody else is irrelevant because they never come up again.
Never come up again in the movies.
Yeah.
Kira
God
is
damn it!
in
Look, as far
the
as Chuck's
comics
rule goes, if
and in
I
the
have to look at it
games.
anywhere other than the movies, it doesn't count.
Yeah, but I also feel like Darth Maul was in other movies.
If you
Other
Actually, no,
movies are fine.
Darth Vader was not in another movie after this.
Darth
yeah,
Maul.
because he died at the end of Rebels.
He was in. I would say he was in the Clone
That's
Wars
a
and he
TV
was in
show,
Rebels.
that doesn't
But those
count.
are TV shows, so they don't count.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you had only watched the movies, if you didn't watch the TV shows, and you see Darth Maul show up, and last time you saw him, he had just gotten cut in half and thrown down a whatever shaft, like you'd be wondering what the F is going on.
I would have, if I was in that position and I didn't watch Clone Wars, I would assume it wasn't Darth Maul. I would have assumed it was like someone who just looked like Darth Maul or an imposter or a sibling or something. I know of Savage Opress or whatever was green or whatever, but if I didn't know these things, I would just assume that it was a pretender to the crown almost, because his lightsaber's different too than what we originally saw in Phantom Menace. It has the different hilt and everything.
Yep.
So I would have just been like, oh, it's just another Dathomirian.
When I saw this in theaters the second time with my girlfriend, we got to that part and she's like, wait, is that? And as soon as he pulls back his hood and shit reveals Darth Maul, she's like smacking my leg really, really hard, and it kind of hurt, but she was like uber excited.
Do you know, was that Sam Witwer's face or just his voice?
It was Ray Park body.
Okay.
Sam Witwer voice.
Yeah, because I couldn't tell. Ray Park, it looked quite different than I remembered. And I was like, I thought Ray Park did it, but like,
well, it's also 17 years later.
17 years later, and I'm
19 years later.
I'm so used to seeing Ray Park without anything now, because like I've seen him at cons a bunch. X2 was like the most recent, or X-Men or whatever was like more recent than this and stuff. So like I was like, is it wrong or what's going on?
No, he just aged. He's old.
Yeah. How dare
Chuck, welcome back.
Hey, thanks.
Have you seen this movie before?
I did this opening night. Han Solo is my favorite character of all time.
Boy, am I ready to shit on that.
And listen, as a young boy, I didn't understand.
A young boy 5 years ago? 6 years ago?
No. Like Han Solo, the original.
He's talking Han Solo from the original trilogy.
It's like it's all those people who love Boba Fett way back when like he really wasn't anything, and then they kind of retconned him to be cool again.
100% it was reverse. He was cool and then gotten cool. But I believe I made a statement last week when you told me we were watching this movie that this movie was made for me. This has everything that I love about Star Wars. It's got scum, it's got villainy, it's cowboy shit. This movie was cowboy shit and it was awesome. It's a bunch of heist movie. A heist movie, they're literally jumping on trains and doing cowboy shit. This is made for
guns all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Reason why he should have been flipping that many guns in the war, but he was twirling. A guy twirling. So I loved this movie. I believe this is a fantastic story that was ruined by a half-assed love story. And
as we see so often.
Going back, watching it this time around, I'm kind of glad. I have not seen it since I saw it in theaters, and I walked out thinking this has been so fucking good, but this stupid love story ruined it. And going back now, I changed my stance a little bit. This is a great movie that actually the love story makes sense and is good, but in a ruined character of Han Solo at the very end. It's ending that I think I got so annoyed with, and like how, because it does become this sad love boy again, which is what I don't like about him in the original trilogy. that's what I hated. I hated that like him and Leia actually do up together and are happy and try to have a family, and he settled down. I want young scum shoots for Han, and we kind of get those shades in this, but it's just they push so hard that you can tell the story without love story. Like you can do it. You could he abandons her. Same concept. He abandons her. It's his jealousy that she's not choosing him that is still the plot driver here. So he feels that jealousy of like, well, I think I'm actually in love with her. I need to get her back and all those things. But then he's just, what? Fuck it. I'm an outlaw. And fuck bitches get money. That's what I wanted from at the end of this movie, and it's not really what I got.
So here's the thing.
I'm very, very pro Han shoots first, and very pro Han fucking bitches and getting money to the Wookiee. That's what I want.
He did to Beckett in the end.
Yeah, they had to definitely make that so that you couldn't argue at all that he shot first. They're like, oh no, he shot first. But
we'll get there when we get to A New Hope. We'll get there when we get to A New Hope,
which is only a couple movies away.
I know. So here's what I would argue against why I like the love story, and it's not necessarily because it's Kira and him. I feel like this movie is the Gone with the Wind of the Star Wars universe, where they say Gone with the Wind is touted as the greatest love story ever made. And what you don't realize is
isn't that just racist? Like that whole movie?
The movie's racist because it's set back in like the 1800s and it was made in the 30s. But I mean, the story is not about like everyone thinks that the love story in Gone with the Wind is about Rhett Butler and Scarlett O'Hare or whatever. But it's not about them. It's about Scarlett and the land, the house that she takes as her own and as all of this stuff. I would argue that we're supposed to think the love story is Han and Kira, but the real love story is between Han and the Falcon. And that's what really ends up coming around. Is that's what sticks around. That's what stays. That's what he's always important. That's what's always important to him moving forward. And I would argue that this is the Gone with the Wind, where it's not about it shows you a little bit of his backstory, but then it shows you why the Falcon is so important to him, and that's the true love story of this movie.
I would agree with that. I just don't think that they do as good of a job telling that, because they are so hard to like. We have to fit this into a box of like telling a love story between two heteros.
Sure.
Much.
Yeah, it's the Star Wars. I feel like they don't take advantage of the Star Wars universe enough for all the like weird pansexual things they can do in that universe. Like it always feels like very like normative heterosexual kind of like.
Oh, I mean,
that's because of Space Jesus. Okay.
Well,
it's true. Yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. But no, this movie had Lando and L3.
I'm pretty. That was a little creepy, actually.
That was more creepy than inclusive, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it goes back to that negative mindset for people who have different love interests.
Yeah,
because they made it creepy.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like
more funny than creepy.
Huh?
It was funny in the sense when she's like, "Oh, we make it work," kind of thing.
Yeah,
but like
it could work.
But it was creepy in the sense that you're like, once you start thinking past the initial joke, you're like, wait. That's weird. Yeah, I feel like I'm watching an episode of True Life, like I'm in love with my car or something.
Nah, it's just reminded me of the episode of Futurama where Bender and Amy Wong get together. So
never saw.
I would have liked it. I mean, it could have easily explained it in the sense of like, is it demisexuality? You have to have like a connection with someone, and it's like somebody's conscience loaded up into the droid that he knew, like with past love, and that's why he's still in love with her. It's the personality that he was like trying to, like, it's her. She's just a different body, and don't choose. Honestly, we should be. It wasn't an overly sexualized robot. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Except for Ron. Sorry, Ron. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings on one, but
oh no, I figured like the love story we should have gotten was between Chewie and Han, personally, but.
Well,
Disney's not ready to go full furry yet.
We learned that from 7, 8, and 9 that they won't pull the trigger on anything that isn't a hetero relationship.
That's not true. That's not with the main characters, I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, where was our Lando and Han relationship? Huh?
I know that's the real ship everyone wants, right?
That's the thing is like, do you think that this movie does a good job of establishing this friendship that we know they have when it's to
No.
No,
They have
No.
more of an angry rivalry than they have an actual friendship.
that's kind of
And
what
now-
they have in Empire too. I feel like it's not
But-
real friendship.
Well, okay, true. It's not a real friendship because they're both just trying to fuck each other over all the time.
Mhm.
But at the same time, like Donald Glover did a great job playing a
Wonderful
young
man.
Lando.
Oh my
Like
God,
it was
perfect.
great. But they
I also
didn't
think
make
Alden Ehrenreich did a great Han Solo.
Alden Ehrenreich had the voice cadence like perfect for young Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think they made him too much of a good guy though.
Oh, for sure. But
Yeah.
Because like he shouldn't have been that good of a guy. Like he should have been doing like backward shicey shit because the whole idea in A New Hope is that, he turns on his outlaw ways to help them out as opposed to that just being what he's always done from the get-go. But Star Wars has been doing that a lot lately with the mouse having control of, oh, by the way, we're going to make it to where like everybody's like backstory beginning shit has some tie-in with everything else that's happened for the rest of the fucking series.
yeah, I also feel like they should have given Han Solo the introduction in this movie that Andor Calrissian got in Rogue One. Like, it's brutal. You're like, oh, this is a calloused, hard, like outlaw, and they
Except
did.
we
You're
got
right,
a
they didn't give that to
basic-
Chris.
We got a basic rogue backstory. He was
Yeah.
an urchin in a thief city,
Mhm.
and he escaped to become an outlaw, and he's not very good at it.
It's Aladdin.
That's
if
another thing.
Chewbacca was
He's
the
not
genie.
He was
fucking-
faking it till he made it. He faked
Sure.
it till he made it, and he made it.
He did make it.
Sure.
Yeah, but it is implied when we get to New Hope that he's done some pretty bad things.
But
Like,
we've
he-
also got what about another 10? No, because I was only I'm doing my math here. 10 years, maybe
Mhm.
Sure, but
15.
I would say this should have been the
A little
part
darker.
where they really lean in, because when you're starting out, you just he should want to make a good impression to get, and he should have been like a lot more ruthless, a lot more cunning, and also I think fucking up a lot more. Like they do a pretty good job doing his greenhornness in this movie, and the fact that he actually doesn't really know how to do anything. But like, so the scene like in war, he's like a fucking bitch.
You mean when he's in the infantry?
Yeah.
Yeah, when he's like in the
So-
image, he's just like I get it because he is supposed to be like kind of a scoundrel in that way, like that. But
Well,
like,
so what I found out in IMDb is that the infantry is the grunts. Obviously, that's what the infantry is. They're made up of the people who don't know what they're doing. They're literally just thrown in there. Here's a gun. There's a war. Go fight it. Then the stormtroopers are the next in line. They're the elites. They're the better trained. So like you go from infantry to the stormtroopers to
Death troopers.
well, death troopers would be probably for the Empire's sake, but I was maybe what's the guards for the clones, like the ARC troopers? Is that?
Hmm.
Yeah, so
I mean,
like,
sounds like
it goes up
something. Yeah.
levels.
Sure.
So yeah, like
I mean,
him
like,
being in the war there
right?
and not knowing what he's doing, it fits.
Wait, no. Chuck's not saying it's not that he knows what he's doing. It's that he was a little bitch. Like, I don't think I saw him pull the trigger one time while he was out there.
Because he didn't know what he was doing.
He ran away
But-
afraid of
no.
everything.
No. My point, the point I think is, he can be a coward. That makes sense. But when push comes to shove, he should have been pulling the trigger, and he was pulling the trigger. Like there were moments where he should have been like, to save his own ass, he should have shot him back at like right immediately. Because that dude was like come over and he was questioning him. He was going to get him killed. Even though he tries to convince him that like, oh, if you go that, you're gonna die, go there, we're gonna live or whatever. But like Han that they know, and maybe because he learns a lot from Beckett that they don't really show in the movie, because you can kind of see the parallels of like, oh, obviously Beckett was gonna like, kind of wore off him on his like first questions later kind of mentality and stuff. But like, I just feel like Han would not just laid the whole time and cowering and been a lot more cowardly crafty, like a chicken shit heel. Like in pro wrestling, a chicken shit heel is somebody who's scared. he's not scared, so he freezes. He's scared. All he's ever doing is trying to get out of the situation that he's in. And Han doesn't show that when he's. It's war, but still, I don't know. I get this young Han and stuff. But this is not a great representation of the Han that we are supposed to believe that he becomes. I didn't think.
I think that the thing is, you don't like, if we were to be like, okay, here's Han at 34 years old in A New Hope, and here's Han at 20 years old in Solo: A Star Wars Story. I don't expect him to be the same person. That 14 years is a long to change. So I kind of am okay with the story starting with him being however they want him to be. They want him to be kind of like a roguelike character that goes towards the good side or whatever, and kind of slowly gets more hardened as he goes on. That's fine with me. Like, I feel like the first time and the second time I watched this, I agree with you, Chuck. But this time watching it, thinking of it, I'm like, I don't mind where he starts off. I think he's totally fine there. And seeing this arc, I just think it was very contrite. I think this is formulaic, and I think this is a story we've seen in a million other things. That's the part I don't like. I don't mind if they want Han to be however they want him to be. Just all the beats of this movie felt like beats I've seen in a million other movies.
That's fair.
I also had a problem with Han knowing how to speak Wookiee.
Oh my gosh, I did not like that one bit. Like, dude, no.
It was fucking dumb.
What do we feel about the Chewbacca introduction? Because I have some mixed feelings about this.
If it wasn't the, like, if this was the canonical first appearance of him, I think it would have been interesting. But because we got him in Revenge of the Sith, just there.
I don't like the fact.
General, like that dude, like a high-ranking officer of the Wookiee like army. And I get to an extent that he becomes a prisoner of war or whatever. Which had a very Guantanamo Bay-esque like feeling to it. Like it really weird. But I just I think this is like a slightly weird introduction, but I'm terrified to know what they've done otherwise.
Well, I just feel like they made Chewie seem like this, like, you're right, we've established Chewbacca is a very smart person, not just a Wookiee, a smart person. He knows how to fly a freaking ship. He's a general in an army, or like a captain in an army or something.
He's been around for 190 years.
Exactly.
Like, we get his age in this movie. Yeah,
to degrade him to like a rancor essentially for the bit of being like, oh, feed him to the beast and stuff, and then being like, oh, never mind, he's actually more like this. We just needed him to act like the abominable snowman for a minute to like make this scene be more like interesting or funny. I felt like that was a bit like unfair to the character of Chewbacca, and I did not like that introduction. I would have liked if Chewbacca was the one telling Han. Like, Han's like, oh, I can understand Wookiee. And so he's telling him, like, we need to break this thing. Like, no one else who comes down here is listening to me. I wanted Chewbacca to be the brains behind it, not just the muscle.
Okay. Yeah, because if you really think about it, like, if you go back to the, like, A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back and stuff, there's, like, in the behind the scenes, where the guy that plays Chewbacca is actually speaking the lines to Harrison Ford. Like
That's ones not behind the scenes. That was the original, like.
Okay, well, regardless, because they went over it with Wookiee noises.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, but yeah, Wookiee noises. But the fact that most of the time he's the one that's arguing on the side of Han doing the smart thing. I agree with Jordan. He should have been the one that was like, "Hey, idiot flyboy, help me do this so we can get the hell out of here because I can't do it by myself."
Yeah, and then later on have Han save his life, and that's the whole life debt situation.
And
we're trying to do the whole life debt thing, and I'm like, you don't need to do that right now.
Is the life debt him escaping, or is the life debt saving his life on the train from getting smashed?
That's the thing. They don't explicitly tell you. They could have made it the train thing, and then they wouldn't have had to do the whole stupid underground thing.
And I also hated the still chained together when they're running away thing.
Yeah,
because that is such an old, overused, ridiculous trope that I can't stand it. Especially when those two guards fell down there with blasters. Neither one of them grabbed a blaster before they went out of there.
Yeah,
well, it all sank.
How'd they get out if it all sank?
Well, they
gate
stood on they climbed up on the stage, but the guns and everything turned into the mud.
Chewie did like a force jump because we all know Chewbacca has the force.
So he force sense. Okay.
Yeah.
It's well.
That kind of brings up a point, though, I wanted to talk about this movie, too, is like everything in this movie I felt was like hey, that's that thing. Hey, that's that thing.
It was literally, hey, this is Han Solo movie. We're doing everything Han Solo, and this is...
Well, it was Easter egg the movie. It was like, how did Chewbacca get his nickname? Oh, that's way too long to say. I'm like, okay, sure. How did Solo get his last name? Oh, some other guy gave it to him.
That was the dumbest fucking thing.
But
like,
also things
like Han Solo was such a cool name until that point in time.
We did not need a reason why Lando Calrissian calls Han. I don't need to know
actually,
that.
I like that. I don't care
though. I don't care. I don't need to know this. It felt too forced. It felt very inorganic. Like the Kessel Run under 12 parsecs. People who are Star Wars fans have already talked about the difference between like how the possibility of doing a length distance is talked about like time. We've already come to the conclusion they gave us in this movie. We understood. We don't need it to be spelled out for us.
We also didn't need
for
like
you. They didn't need it spelled out
space monster.
You.
Yeah.
You have to remember that this came at a time where we have an entire new casual fan generation come through.
Yeah, but they wouldn't understand it anyway. They wouldn't understand the connection anyway. They would not be putting those two together. If you're a huge fan,
if they've seen 4 and 6, and they came in, so they came in at 9, then they went back and they watched 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3. There's references in this that the casual you have to remove that you know everything about Star Wars, and you sit and you go, oh, that's why they talk about Kessel Run.
My dad is a casual Star Wars fan, and in movies like this, he had to ask me to explain everything to him anyway. So I still feel like they're not like landing the landing
there. But I mean, situation with my mom. But I always think of it as like a lot of them I'm too into wrestling. Talk to casual wrestling fans about wrestling. Because I just know so much about it, and they're just literally absorbing the thing that they see on TV.
Yeah, sure.
And
they're not listening to all the backstage beef going on like we would.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and the storylines and the how wrestling works. And
let me tell you why Cody Rhodes wasn't going to win the title at WrestleMania, and then it got changed to he's going to win the title at WrestleMania. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. So like, it's easier. It's a little bit easier to like understand why they put that stuff in, because the casual fans looking for that. Ultimately, the casual fans want the pop. They want the there's the thing, like especially because like the Leonardo DiCaprio like meme of the that's the thing.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah,
like that was height when this movie came out.
Sure. And I love that the most amount of time they gave to the Easter egg in this movie was something that not even hardcore fans knew about. The dice. I'm like, even the most hardcore fans are like, what are these dice?
Where'd they come from? But they've always been there.
They've always been there. Just they've never talked about it till now.
No one cared about it until
we could care less.
Yeah.
I still could care less, to be honest with you.
Yeah, me too. I
know this movie did not do good in theaters. It was coming off the heels of Last Jedi, which people, I'm not gonna say firebombed, but like had it's either you loved it or you hated it reactions. And then it came 3 months later, 4 months later? No, May, so 5 months. Like, they should have kept it in December. And I think if they had done that, it would have gotten a better viewing. But no, it's the 50th anniversary. We got to put it out on May 4th or May 25th. Because
there's a lot of things working against this. I remember like TikToks going out how like the promotion for this movie is not nearly as good as others have been because of the backlash of Last Jedi.
Yeah.
The fact that we had high expectations of episode like standalone things because Rogue One was amazing. So good.
Yeah.
And did Mandalorian come out yet?
No.
No.
Not until 2019.
So nothing. Okay, so nothing for Star Wars had come out yet on Disney Plus.
What's interesting is I feel like this movie, like a lot of properties have done what this movie did, and it almost fails every time. X-Men, X-Men Origins, Wolverine, not well received. They were going to do a whole thing about every character. Every time,
Well, I mean, when you have a shitty storyline like that one had,
but I just mean there's a lot of franchises where they try to do, okay, we're going to focus on individual characters, and they never end up doing well. It's very interesting.
Well, and then I mean, this was supposed to get sequels, and allegedly the Lando movie, TV
Lando
series,
Chronicles, I think, is what it was going to be called.
Is that what it's going to be called?
Because
I think it's still in production. I think it still might be happening.
Well, here it was kind of an Easter egg, wasn't it? Because there is the book from the old legend stuff that was the Lando Calrissian Chronicles, or whatever they called it, and he does his little hologram thing,
little monologue thing, yeah,
exactly. I'm like, okay, so this would be kind of a fun little like backdoor pilot for a TV show. Like, I would be into that. Get Donald Glover on there. He just did great, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Come on, get him back.
I'm saying, like, you got Donald Glover, and he'll be Lando, and then you can bring in
weird
Aaron Reich every once in a while.
The love of his life, Lobot.
Oh yeah, Lobot.
I guess hot take. I didn't really like Donald Glover as Lando.
That's so funny, man. I think
I have no idea what you just said.
He didn't like Donald Glover in this movie.
Oh, okay.
I think it felt a little flat to me, or something like he didn't. He's the wrong swagger. I don't know how to explain it. Like, there's swagger and then there's charisma, and Lando has a lot of like charisma, and in the original, and like in this, he has just like cool guy swagger. Now, granted, they're two very different people in the timeline of, because like we meet Lando and he's like a politician. Is he the governor?
He's a businessman. He is the owner and operator of Cloud City, the mining colony.
Like he's like this corporate version. You know what I mean? So he's more like corporate dude, corporate charisma guy.
Corporate is better, yeah.
Yeah, and in this, he's just like, I'm cool banging a robot, and it just felt. It felt like it was Donald Glover playing Lando Calrissian. It didn't feel like I was seeing the origins of Lando Calrissian, if that makes sense.
Okay, that's a fair point. I think I just have a soft spot for Donald Glover, though, so that's why.
Yeah, and super fair. And like, you know that he probably was ecstatic at this role, and he probably did the best he could. I do wonder if it was a slight, like, there was some great direction happening in this movie.
Yeah,
because they did have fit the, you know, like in a box archetype to make the mouse happy, as Ron says.
Well, it's also a wonder, like, what scenes were directed by Lord Miller, what scenes were directed by Ron Howard, what script changes were done. You never know in this movie.
Anything that was trying to be comedy was probably
Lord Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say anyone that had Ron Howard's brother in it was probably directed by Ron Howard.
That was definitely, with Clint Howard and the robot fights, that was definitely Ron Howard.
I love that he still just gives his brother bonus.
Like, also, Willow with the rocket launcher was probably a Ron Howard scene.
But I mean, you have to have what's his name?
Warwick Davis.
Warwick Davidson. Yeah. You have to have him in every Star Wars movie at this point. Like,
he's been in
I love him.
10 of the 12, apparently.
Yeah, he's such a cool guy. Like, you got to put that guy in everything.
100%. And I'm wondering, I don't know if this is the same character from Phantom Menace.
Harry Potter. Oh,
well, no.
It looks like it could be the same character from Phantom Menace. It really does.
It's very possible.
Like, same haircut, same like attire sort of look. And I mean, he could have went from Tatooine to a bounty hunter or whatever, mercenary.
Because could have been like a hired gun with that group of the Enfys Nest and everything.
Well, they're not really. They're not marauders. Like she says herself, they're not marauders. They're survivors.
They're freedom fighters.
Yeah, they're freedom fighters. Like they are fighting.
Isn't that the same chick that's a freedom fighter in the Falcon and Winter Soldier movie or show?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, despite the fact that this is a gigantic multiple galaxies and planets and stuff, it is actually one of the smallest universes ever because everybody just seems to know everybody.
I mean,
it's a small world after all.
Yeah. We learned how small the world became when there's the internet. There they have the HoloNet, and that's even a bigger internet. So it just really brings it down.
Well, I mean, we knew that everybody knew each other when it was Luke and Leia's mom and dad that basically owned R2 and 3PO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's just silly.
Well, and that's the thing that
Also,
I've always been like mad about. Like, they're making everything Skywalkers. So when like Rogue One and Solo came out, I'm like, all right, we're not having Skywalkers. I love it. When The Mandalorian came out and it's no Skywalkers in there until Luke shows up,
true.
I'm just like, what the hell?
For the first season.
So 2 and 3, they were trying to again like Easter eggs to like. Do you think George Lucas was behind this movie the whole time?
No.
Was he the wizard behind the curtain? The man behind the curtain? Actually,
not since he sold.
Yeah. No, but we'll know that. Maybe that's what they want you to think, Joey.
Yeah,
and secretly, he's actually trolling the mouse the whole time. What if he is? What if he is Walt Disney? What if George Lucas is actually the reincarnation, the frozen head, brought back to life? All he cares about is Star Wars, and his whole goal in life is to continually tie shit that does not need to be tied together into a Star Wars universe.
I like this theory. I think that George Lucas is reincarnated Walt Disney, and then Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are life model decoys that he also controls.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's canon now. It was said on the show.
It's the Tin Man. It's it's the Scarecrow. He's planting his seeds into them. 100%.
I love it.
Which it was kind of cool to see Jon Favreau in this. He's obviously a big Star Wars fan. And
wait, what was Jon Favreau in this? Why do I not remember?
The Aldarian, the four-armed guy.
Okay, I thought he was.
His voice. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like him. How did you not notice? I mean,
his forearms.
The entire time I'm like, is that Favreau? Like the voice. But then once again, coming on this show, two people that know or something alike. I confused in my head. Jon Favreau and Rogen, same to my brain a lot of the time.
Really? Seth Rogen, really?
The entire time I was just like,
sounds so different.
I know. There was a part of me through most of this movie until I figured out it was Jon Favreau. I was like, that's not the Rogen. Is that the voice I'm hearing? Is that who that is?
We've gotten Jack Black in the Star Wars universe. I think it's about time we get Seth Rogen in there.
Okay. I love it though.
I could probably do without that, but
it'd be funny if he's just in the background as an alien who's just getting high. Like that would be a good little cameo.
I want Seth Rogen voicing and speaking an alien language time and not English.
Okay.
That's what
that one I could work with. I don't know. I like Seth Rogen. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't like him before, but
give me Seth Rogen as for the Huts. That's what I want.
Oh yes, this one of the Huts would be great.
He's like Waka-wooda. That would be the funniest fucking thing I'd ever.
He's got the laugh down perfect. You ever hear a Hut laugh? If you ever heard a Hut laugh, it sounds like Seth Rogen. That's great.
I love it.
Oh, I love it. And I got you more sure. Be Seth Rogen, Jabba the Hutt.
I love that. That's a great casting. That's
Seth Rogen, Jabba the Hutt.
Casting going on now.
Seth Rogen, Jabba the Hutt. Yep, there it is.
Okay, I've got it written down.
All right.
Maybe it won't take me like 6 months to do this one.
I got a question for you guys. How did you feel about the opening text in this one? Because it's not a crawl; it's a text, like bombardment.
I didn't like it.
Okay.
Like the text, like if it was the text, like having the text is fine, but what they were explaining in the text, I was dumb.
Okay. Yes. I understand. Yes.
I didn't read it because I was playing on my phone. But
yeah, I was wondering why they were even talking about Proxima Midnight or whatever her name is. Like, because
she's in the first 10 minutes of the movie, and then we don't see her again.
Yeah,
like, although I did.
You mean when he uses a thermal detonator?
I did love that scene.
See, I thought that was dumm.
I thought it was
I loved it.
Scrappy.
I thought that was I thought that was Len is a scrappy dude. I actually enjoy. That's the thing. I think Ron does like slapstickiness of this, and I think everyone else did like I love the slapstickiness of it. Like the MacGyver-esque level of like Han Solo in this.
Yeah,
MacGyver. You mean like MacGruber?
Whatever.
Like because those scenes weren't like like the entire movie. They were kind of spread out bits and pieces here and there. Maybe that's why I did enjoy it.
I feel it's the other way around. Like, they were supposed to alleviate the seriousness, but they just made it seem dumb instead of like part of the movie. It was like out of the movie parts of the movie, like where it didn't mesh with the rest of it.
I get that because I feel like in a Marvel movie, they alleviate a lot, and they do it too much now. But at the beginning, they would alleviate these like harder moments with like levity of comedy, and you understood it was comedy because it was like it made sense in the tone of the story.
Sure, like when Cap and Iron Man are arguing in Avengers, and he's like, "Why don't you go put on your suit and let's find out?" And then they get hit on the helicarrier, and he's like, "Go put on the suit." You know,
I was
like
thinking more of Cap and Natasha when she's trying to hook him up with anybody, and they're probably ready to jump into a battle in Civil War. No, Winter Soldier. There at the beginning.
Yeah, like that stuff was all good, and I feel like one thing I hated the first time I saw this movie until I realized it's supposed to be a joke, and that's where you don't realize when jokes are supposed to be there. We're taking it too serious, like Ron said, was when Han is going to enlist in the Navy to get out of the place, and they're playing the Imperial March as like their advertisement. And the first time I saw it, I'm like, why would the Imperial March exist in this universe? Like, what are they hearing? The music we're hearing? Like, what is this? And then I realized this is a joke. Like, this is supposed to be campy and funny, but like it didn't come through in the first viewing.
Yeah, that one I can agree with. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just feel like there's a lot of moments that were like, oh, that was dumb, but it was meant to be played for comedy, and we're like, oh, when you think of it from a comedy perspective, you're like, that it makes more sense, but the tone of this movie is not comedic.
What I would have liked is for the movie to have a gradual, like, de-escalation of comedy into seriousness throughout. Like,
that would have been
start funny. You know what I mean? Like, all your slapstick in the beginning. I think Car Chase is a great like example of that and stuff, like and silliness, and as the tone of the movie gets more serious, because there's a lot of serious things happen in this movie, right? We see the birth of the rebellion.
Again,
we see birth of a rebellion.
Another birth of another rebellion.
Well, Rogue One. Well, was it Rogue One and I think Rebels kind of indicated there are rebellion cells all over the galaxy.
We got Saw Gerrera off doing his own stuff. We got Enfys Nest doing. Yeah, there's a ton of like guerrilla warfare going on.
Yeah, all over the place. And it wasn't until Rebels when they actually were like, hey, we need to bring everybody together.
Which is why we've always called it the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah.
I just like, I think like if started funny and then they did that moment where Han was like in a funny slapstick to it, and the oh shit, this is serious, now we need serious Han. Kind of like how in New Hope, right? Like he's kind of silly, but he has his moments of like seriousness, and then like it's when he goes up to say is when they're like, oh shit, okay, like no, like, it's a serious, like. So I don't know. This movie. We'll get anyway.
I like your idea of like a genre degradation kind of going on.
Yeah,
like it would be cool with that.
Because like that all would play in us understanding Han comes scoundrel is right.
Yeah,
like this idea of like he was kind of this quirky dude. He was young, spry, shit on him. He was full of hope and stuff like that. And by the end of the movie, we get broken has to rebuild himself, where he does become an evil, like not an evil dude, but bad things.
Not bad, just neutral. Like where he doesn't care whether he's doing something for good or for bad. He's doing it for himself.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would have been absolutely down for that, because, like I said, the part with the fucking thermal detonator rock at the beginning and him clicking his tongue would have set well with the rest of the movie if it would have started off as really campy and humorous like that, where he's got these ridiculous ideas and they somehow pay off. And, then he gets into this thing where, like, after she leaves and after he gets, drafted, like, he slowly becomes more serious and more, like, distraught and more, like, downhearted, to where he doesn't have these ideas of, like, oh, I'm this slick, sly, fly guy, and, everything's just kind of shit, so I'm going to do what I've got to do. And, then then him
Well, you could
always having
argue
a
that
price on his head
happens-
would make sense.
Well, you can
But-
argue that when he met Beckett, he started learning that way. But then when they went to go to Dryden Voss, meet with Crimson Dawn, and he sees Kira, he flashes back to the past and becomes the jokiness again, because that's what attracted her to him. Maybe.
But that's too much shifting of character to be done in a
You're
2-hour
correct,
movie.
yes.
You needed like a TV show for that kind of like character development.
Well, I think if they had given us another movie, you know what I mean? Like,
Which
Yeah,
I think
make
they were
this like a
planning.
Right.
Like,
trilogy.
it would have been great
Right.
if this next movie. Oh, he goes up and he meets with Jabba the Hutt. He starts working with Jabba, and then
Because they alluded to that.
exactly.
And yeah,
Well-
yeah,
I don't think
There's-
because it's so poorly received, we're really gonna get that.
yeah, and that's
Well,
sometimes the
maybe
bad part of it.
comics. I think we've gotten some comics because the movie didn't do well. That also explains more of Hans and Lando's relationships and how they became friends or
Yeah,
enemies.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. It just I feel
Put
like
out an animated series.
Yeah,
And not,
there you go.
not even an animated series, or like a 3-part extended movie. You know what I mean? Like 2-3
Like an
hour
long, yeah, like an hour.
like you
hour
could
and a
just
half
drop
long,
it
yeah.
on Disney Plus. Like you have these
Yeah.
platforms.
Exactly.
Eight episodes could have done
Yeah,
it
no, that's the
easy.
thing. Like they
Yeah.
have the technology now. They have the ability, and people have the platform to watch it. They could
And
do
people
this
see
stuff.
that people are still watching the sort of like
Yeah.
shockingly enough, I think I have heard that like Disney Plus in general, like viewership has like a kind of all streaming platforms for the most part. Of like original content being produced, because they are leaning so hard towards live streaming now, especially in sports. That's those that are like shooting up because it's new and fun and it's different. But Star Wars still streams well and it still does well, and I guess actually slightly outperforming Marvel's stuff, which is interesting. But I think also
Well, the last couple of Marvel things have
good.
been like not great.
And Marvel's
so-
had a lot more saturation than Star Wars has, even though they both oversaturated a little bit.
But Marvel or Star Wars has been spread out through decades, as opposed to like 2
Marvel's-
decades of nothing but movies.
I know,
Well, plus
right?
Yeah.
Star Wars has the ability to jump into the Clone Wars, like we just did with
Ahsoka.
Ahsoka. Well, no, that was actually after. That was
Rebels
Bad Batch.
and
Bad Batch. Like Bad Batch was
Oh,
post
yeah,
Clone
yeah.
Wars
I
before.
haven't
Revenge of the
finished the
Sith.
last 2 episodes yet.
Oh,
Thank you
dude,
for
so
reminding
good.
me.
I haven't
bad.
watched the whole season yet. So
But then we have that going on, and at the same time that's going on, we get seasons of Mandalorian, which
Mhm.
take place after Return of the Jedi. Like they have the ability to jump timelines. We're going to be getting a High Republic thing here soon, like with the Acolyte.
Acolytes look so good.
It looks good. But then we also have the Mando and Grogu movie coming out. So like we've got Star Wars is able to do that and jump around time-wise. So it is being oversaturated, but they're able to pull from different areas. Whereas Marvel, they're not jumping back in time very much. Like they did that with Black Widow
Mhm.
and put that like a couple years prior, but that's only because they should have done it in the first place. But everything else has been kind of going
It's
forward.
almost chronological when you watch it. Like release dates are almost chronological on most of the movies,
with the exception
and
of,
TV shows.
of Black Widow, Captain
Yeah.
Marvel,
Sure.
Captain America, the first one.
Yes,
Yeah, the rest of them are basically.
but I'd argue Captain America ends in the chronology. Like, yeah, you go
Well,
back,
yeah,
but the
yeah,
movie
yeah,
ends
it-
where you are chronologically in the story.
It does. And honestly, if you start, like, I think the very beginning is, oh, hey, we found them. Like, so
Yeah.
it's just the telling of
Exactly.
back in the 40s, but yeah.
Well,
it's an
also-
origin flashback.
The beautiful thing wasn't totally told well in this movie specifically. Star Wars actually has a lot more appeal because it can be kind of whatever I want it to be. It can be Jedi stuff. It can be, scum money stuff, as we saw with like a Mandalorian and this movie and things like that. Like, so it can kind of, even though it's in the Star Wars universe, it can kind of tell whatever story it wants. And a lot of them, the Marvel stuff has to be superhero stuff.
Mhm.
Yes.
People or people who genuinely won't care about it.
Also, you've got my parents watched Star Wars in the 70s.
Mhm.
And then they had the
Yeah,
movie,
there's just
so
so
I
many.
watched it as a kid. So that when the prequel trilogy came out, that was my Star Wars. And
Yeah.
then now this new trilogy, the sequel trilogy came out, that was my kid's Star Wars. Like
Mhm.
it is
Oh, I
expanding
feel bad for them.
generations to the point of like you can watch it and love it. Whereas Marvel, it's like, oh, it started in 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
because no
all,
one, let's
like-
be honest, who was really reading Iron Man comics before Iron Man
No
came
one.
out in 2007? Yeah, no
Literally,
one was
Iron Man,
reading it.
Captain America, Thor, they
No one
were
was
their
reading
like C-listers.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
their A-listers were Spider-Man, X-Men,
Who they
maybe
didn't have
Daredevil,
rights for.
Fantastic Four. Yeah, and they had sold those rights because Marvel was failing.
Well,
No one
And,
even
like-
knew who Guardians of the Galaxy was when that came
Exactly.
out. I
That's
had
so
no
true.
idea.
I did, but that's only because I had a
that's
couple
right.
comics from, and it wasn't even this team at all, though. So
Yondu was on it in there.
but legitimately,
yeah, but Yondu was part of the Guardians, not a fucking space pirate. So, but whatever.
I mean, I work with comics, and to them,
I'm sorry. Did you say you work with cockhats?
College kid.
Oh, same difference.
Sure, yeah. And like us reading the movies, I'm reminded of just like, man, I had Spider-Man as a kid and all these things, and the pulls and stuff like that, and like legitimately, like that generation, the Avengers movies like start, and your idea of when Marvel starts, it's like that Iron Man, and even then, some of them too young for it and didn't watch it until like later. You know
That's
what I
crazy.
mean? So yeah, in like
I was
in
in
mind,
college
but like
when that came out. Like that's insane.
yeah, same. And they're like it made me realize that like it is, the generations and all, like it dawned on me because I don't think the going back and watching it and putting it so hard is something that this current generation looks at and says. But it's crazy to me that like Joey said, there are people growing up, kids that are going to grow up. 79 are amazing because that was the Star Wars I grew up on and got to watch.
Yep.
It's just like I'm sorry, but it's just like wrestling. Like the era of wrestling that we deemed the worst, like the late 2010s era, everything PG. There are kids that go in that's their favorite wrestling. That's what they watched as a kid. When we watch, like, when we think back at like Attitude in the 90s and Crazy, how good it was, they look back and they're just like, it was bad. Like none of it was good.
They think that's bad, and then they're like the aggression era, John Cena, everything like this and that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh man,
It's just like, man, you got So it's on commercial, but we are in a very cool era. We got to see like the stuff was pushed on us. We were very young of the therefore we got to see the birth of a lot of things, then to stuff that we get to watch currently and still absorb and enjoy.
Yeah,
so we're very lucky in that.
Yeah.
Speaking, but hang on, I want to go back real quick because I asked you guys about the text crawl before, and I wanted to.
Sorry, we got away from that.
No, totally fine. The only reason I brought that up is because for some reason I thought I had turned on the original Terminator when I did this because it's almost identical to the font and like it's quiet at the beginning, and I'm like, wait, this feels like the Terminator. What's happening?
Very good.
I was okay with it as long as it stays in the solo work of movies.
Just over there with the solo stuff.
Well, I don't hate the idea that made different characters get different, like get different roles or opens in that way, and it kind of makes sense, right? Like we associate the Skywalker story and like Jedi story with the scroll.
Yeah, the text scroll.
Yeah, this isn't that. This movie is not that.
Well, like Clone Wars got like that blurb, whatever line that the one general says, and then goes into the narrator. So like, speaking like old timey, this is what's going on in the war. So
the war propaganda video things.
And then Bad Batch has the really cool like thing and stuff.
That's pretty awesome. I love it.
But if I'm not mistaken, that's how the show is too. Like, so that encapsulates
Yes.
that, like that. So Clone Wars series has the propaganda sound, opening, and then the main continuity, like 1 through 9, has the scrolls.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
How the Rogue One has scroll, right?
Rogue One has nothing. It's just
nope. It
goes
just
right
literally
into it.
starts.
Oh, I don't really.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, we'll see that. That's going to be the next Star Wars movie, so you'll see
yeah.
that in a bit. Anybody else got anything they want to talk about?
I have a few things.
All right, go ahead.
So when you're on the Dryden ship for the Crimson Dawn people, I thought some of the aliens on there were so cool looking. Like that was like, yeah, the half head lady. Yeah. I mean, come on, that was so cool. And then also in his office, there apparently, I didn't notice it, but apparently in the background, there's a ton of Indiana Jones paraphernalia back there. So
yeah, I did that. That was
fun
great.
little Easter eggs there. And then battle bots. When we first meet Lando, they got battle bots going on. I was like, this is ridiculous. Cool. I love it.
I did like
that right there actually leads into my only other note that I've got here that we didn't cover, which was using the droids equal rights as like a slapstick joke also was kind of like almost derogatory towards some of the minorities.
Kind of and everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
I almost felt like it was true. Like trans rights being made fun of a little bit.
Yeah,
but,
yep. Because even into the Lando and L3, and how would that even work? Oh, it would work. Like, goes right back into that, like like picking on a specific group of people is what it felt like they were doing, and then instead of making it a serious like lobbying for them, it was like this is just a big joke, and we're not going to take it seriously except for like this 30 seconds of the film.
It's almost like J.K. Rowling wrote this movie.
Nice. Topical.
Ron Howard.
I will say though, with L3 yelling droid rights, we are sentient. It just leaves credence that why I count droids for being killed.
There you go. And they brought up a fair point in this that you never think of, that if you take a look, there are so many droids in the Star Wars universe. I would almost argue there's more droids than humans. So if they wanted to do an uprising, they have the numbers. Yeah. They got the numbers.
They don't have the...
There's more than humans on the planet too, so...
Here's the thing: if all the droids became connected to a hive mind,
be fair, Tesla is trying to take people, so you actually make a point here. So okay, I get what you're saying.
But yeah, if they all were connected like the Borg, I mean, we would all the alien races would be in for a rude awakening.
You know what? That's fair. Fuck those Borgs. Okay, yeah, that's really all I got.
My one last thing I'll mention is I felt like Alden Ehrenreich, even though I thought he did a great job as Han Solo, he felt more like he was doing, speaking of Star Trek, Chris Pine doing Captain Kirk. He felt very much, I was like, this feels like he's Chris Pine, like a Chris Pine actor, like an actor. Kind of, yeah.
But that Kirk is different than the Kirk we got in the series because he didn't have his dad there to,
you mean the original series? Like,
yes.
The William Shatner Kirk? I mean, yeah, they're very different from each other.
But what I'm saying, like,
really, I didn't know the difference.
Kirk,
like,
whatever. But that Kirk's personality was formed because of his father.
Sure,
whereas
because
this
it's
Kirk,
an alternate reality version
exactly.
of him.
So,
yeah, I just meant more the
acting.
The acting style felt very Chris Pine doing Captain Kirk to me.
Okay.
I know very little about Star Trek. Are those movies canonical to the main TV universe?
They're alternate versions. They're alternate universe versions to the original series.
Oh.
Everything is. The first movie was like, what would happen if Kirk was brought up in a different setting? And Spock was actually Kirk, and Kirk was actually Spock, kind of, was like the first movie. Then the second movie was like, what if Khan was actually a white British dude?
What if Khan was Sherlock?
Yeah, exactly. And then the third one, I don't know what they were doing with the third one.
I haven't seen the third one.
It was fine. It was a fine movie. It was just like, what are we doing with this? Like, it makes no sense.
So when they are doing the Kessel Run, right? This is my last note. The big Cthulhu thing was stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And since when could Imperials fly so well?
It's the 501st. They didn't say it, but that's got to be the 501st.
But the Imperials have always been good. That's the thing. And we'll talk about this when we get to A New Hope. They're supposed to not kill. Well, I mean, not supposed to kill the main cast, but like they're not supposed to kill Luke and Han because they know what they're doing. They're trying to get the base. The argument can be made, and I'll make it when we get to A New Hope, that Imperials actually are the stormtroopers actually are competent, but they're supposed to like not.
They're playing dumb.
For the original trilogy, they are like they're being directed by Vader to like, hey, you can kill all these guys, but you can't kill these guys, kind of thing. So like, yeah, in this one, they're in their TIE fighters. They're looking badass because they actually are badass.
Okay.
Right.
When we get to the movies, maybe I can make an argument for it.
Okay. We'll
I
see.
think the issue in Marana is just the helmets don't fit. They can't do what they're doing.
Yeah, I think so too. They can't see a
the
thing.
eyes are like up here or something, or down here. I can't
They're
remember.
bumping into the doors when they're walking through. Like, come on.
But when they're flying, they're just so well in there, and their helmets fit great, and they're fine. You know what I mean? That's why they're able to do it.
All right. Well, okay. That brings us to the end. So first off, Jordan, who's got a bad feeling?
No one, but Han has a really good feeling about
That's
this.
True. Yes.
Lando also has a really good feeling, but that was when L3 and him were in the back before this movie started.
Ayo.
Love it. All right, I forgot to count this up. Hold on. Kill count of 56 and 2 arms for the limb count.
I did think that was a good slapsticky moment where he like accidentally ripped their arms off. That was great.
Got them both dangling
It's like,
there. That was great. I loved it. Ron, bingo.
We've got government interference, implied nudity, comic logic, origin reveal, animal cruelty.
Implied nudity.
When they're in the shower together.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah. Unexplainable science, hero kills, sexual innuendo, and fight for control of something.
All right.
I did forget to mention that Han has a weird kink of getting women stuck in tight places in the Falcon and then making a move on them. He did it to Kira, and then he did it to Leia. He's probably done it to numerous others.
Well, when you put it like that, Han's kind of a skis.
He kind of is. I think he needs to be on a list or something.
He's a scum.
Fuck boy for sure. I thought we will establish
every time he lands the Falcon, he goes and introduces himself, and he's like, "I have to legally."
Yeah. Chuck, Spawn Cape Continuum.
I mean, look, this is like not old. You know what I mean? So like, I guess technically it holds up. It's a. Oh, I've been thinking about it because it's in back to the episode. Check the archives. I think we're doing this wrong.
It's in chronological order.
No. My brain. I think that technically the numbers should be further away. If it's good, the numbers should be close together. If they're bad,
okay, but I have to.
That's because the argument is that Spawn Cape we remember as being good, and it actually sucks, right?
The way the Spawn Cape Continuum works is when the movie came out, it was the Spawn Cape specifically was touted as this like computer generated like feat and like state of the art and was so good. But when we look at the 2024, it's atrocious and it looks absolutely terrible.
So it needs to be what was thought of as really cool at the time, but looks terrible now.
Correct. Yes. Like it's hold up. So I think technically the numbers need to be further away from each other. I mean, granted, it all doesn't fucking matter anyway. But I'm going to say 40.
Yeah, the game where none of the points matter.
Yeah, I'm going to say 32 out of 287.
Okay, sure.
Like this still holds up because this isn't that old. You know what I mean?
It's
still
6 years
looks
old.
great. Yeah.
Mhm.
From the time of us watching.
There were some stuff that very like you can tell it'll be very interesting to see in like 10 years how this holds up.
Sure.
Well,
because a lot of this is all like computer generated. We are in the era where everything's shot on a green screen. So
yeah, big old green screen and green box.
Yeah.
I was interested to find out that the Vision's face scars were put on afterwards.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Those are computer generated for Paul Bettany.
Yep. And it was one of those things that when he was calm, they were tan. But when he got angry, they like turned red.
Yeah,
I just thought that was Paul Bettany. Like I didn't realize that wasn't.
Yeah, apparently he was surprised, like when he saw a picture of him, like Ron Howard sent him a picture, and he's like, "Well, I didn't have any of that stuff on."
He probably was thinking that he didn't have to sit in the makeup chair for 2 hours before shooting every day.
Look,
you know,
Paul
Bettany is like
they actually ran little LED across his face and then had to put like prosthetic over top of it. Can you imagine? That would have been like
that'd been terrible.
Paul Bettany is like low key though. What an actor. Anytime he's in something, I just feel happy that he's there. Like I forget he's a person, but when he shows up in something, I'm like, oh yes, I love Paul Bettany.
Yeah, love it. All right, that brings us to our scores.
He's one of those actors I never know who he is, but I was like, oh wait, I know that guy, but I can't ever remember what I know him from.
The first movie I saw him in was
Jeffrey Chaucer. Yep.
Wait, what was the movie?
A Knight's Tale.
A Knight's Tale.
Oh yes. Oh, the Canterbury Tales. Yeah, that's right. That's Jeffrey Chaucer.
Yep.
So good. Talk about naked, implied nudity.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't implied. You saw his ass.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're rating this.
Started with you. Out of 10, what do you give this?
Man,
decimals are encouraged.
I think decimals are encouraged. Okay, I think
multiple decimals are encouraged. Actually,
1.67824. No, I think
I'm round up.
You heard him. 1.679.
I feel like
1.68.
I feel like if you would have asked me what my rating was on memory of this movie, I probably would have been a lot lower than I'm going to be now. But I actually really enjoyed this movie, so I'm going to go with like a 7.7.
Okay.
Wow. All right.
Chuck.
All right. Is this a Star Wars movie? By all accounts, in my opinion, it is 100% exactly a Star Wars movie. It's everything that I love about Star Wars. It's the Wild West in space. That is what I always loved. I hated space opera concept. I hate Jedi. I hate all that stuff. I always just wanted to be Han Solo when I was a kid. I thought he was the coolest character ever. I love the idea that he didn't give a shit and all those things. So, is this a Han Solo movie? That I don't know, but this I weirdly look through this as like nostalgic eyes, and I say, yeah, no, I still love this movie, and I will apologize for how much I like this movie. That is probably my fourth favorite Star Wars movie, but again, this was specifically for me. The story at the end wrapping kind of ruins it. I'm gonna say 7.43.
2-1.
And add the 3 in there, huh?
Well, you yell at Ron that he doesn't do enough.
I said that we need to do it soon, and he's like immediately just like, all right, gotta start drinking now.
Listen, I was there. You yelled at him. It was aggressive. Anyway. Okay.
Anyway.
I'm sorry. Much like my partner, you do not yell. You aggressively suggest that we do the thing that you're asking us to do.
I'm
yeah.
Ron, what you got?
You gabagool. Is that it?
So I haven't been even remotely about disliking this. Like I just don't like it. It's not good. There are some fun parts to it, but I don't know. There's just something, like I said, there's something about it that I don't like because I already know the fates of all the important characters, and everybody else is just like story fodder. And I don't think they did a very good job of building up Han's character, which is really disappointing. And I also feel like they didn't do a very good job of Chewbacca's character either, because they just kind of made him like a background character again, and this could have been, more about them as opposed to Han with a little bit of, Chewie dashed in there. So I gave it a 3.23.
Yeah, fair.
So I kind of fear for our next episode of Star Wars if Ron's whole thing is I only care about the characters. I don't know if I know the fates of them, I don't care about the movie, because literally every person's fate in Rogue One, you already know what's going to happen to
Yeah, because they
them.
talked about it at the very beginning of.
But I really liked watching Andor.
Okay, so maybe you'll like this, but I mean, you go into this movie knowing that, like, okay, literally every character here I've never heard of, so I'm pretty sure what's going to happen to them.
I knew Saw Gerrera's.
Ron, have you seen you've fallen asleep through? So you've never seen it to the end, right?
Correct.
Rogue One, okay, but do you know the end scene?
Isn't that where they all die?
No.
Yeah, basically. Oh,
well, yes.
That scene.
No,
sure.
but like the actual end.
I forgot that. Yeah, that scene.
Yeah.
Is that them dropping off the things that they find to the Alliance so that they know how to kill the Death Star?
No, there's a
I have no fucking clue.
There's a really cool moment that's going to happen, and we're not going to tell you what it is.
I'm looking forward.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because so I think that will convince you, right? Because it is one of those things. I'm just like, this Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie, and I look at it and I say it's a pretty good story, but goddamn, last scene is just like the thing that makes it so fucking cool.
In the theater, when that last scene happened to, I went from this is a really good movie to this is a great freaking movie.
Yeah, it is a good movie that becomes great by literally one scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Joey, what's your score?
So I did enjoy this movie. It's debatable if I enjoyed it more than Phantom Menace and Attack of Clones. Like those, it's in around the same ballpark. Like I like them all equally. I mean, I like Star Wars, like just in general. So, and Chuck is doing something with his mouth. I don't know what the.
I think he's sucking the microphone's cock.
I think he's.
I was screaming so loud right now for saying you don't know if you like better than Attack of the Clones. So I just I needed to purpose mute myself because you're gonna kick me out of here anyway. I was least.
But most importantly, what does this mean, Chuck?
That was scream angrily. Sometimes
so you weren't trying to get.
You're telling me, Ron, you've never been so angry that you had to suck a cock? I don't believe that, Ron. Not for a second.
I can honestly say that I've never been that angry.
Well, I'm gonna go to anger management then. So I don't know what to tell you.
Wow. Okay.
I'm worried about what your therapist gave you for anger management, man.
Yeah, it's gonna if you ever went to prison, people are just gonna try to piss you off.
Well, I'd rather be pissed off than pissed on.
Oh, there you go.
Well,
fair.
Good point.
Okay.
I really enjoyed it. There are some parts that, this movie that just didn't need to happen. I do agree with you guys on the comedy elements being too much. While I enjoyed them, they didn't need to be here. I was not a fan of all the Easter eggs of like, oh, hey, that's how he got his blaster. That's how he got the ship. That's how he got his, like, I didn't like all that. It was annoying. That being said, I still loved it. Loved the characters that they introduced. Like I would love to see Enfys Nest show back up in the movie somewhere. Mm-hmm. I would love for another Solo movie, or even a Lando and Solo movie, or just anything with these characters in it again. But as of right now, who knows what's going on? But I also have the comics and the books that I can fall back on to where we get those characters. Like I know Kira shows up again in the comics. She's showing up in the newest Star Wars video game, which I can't remember what it's called. But that's she's in there. She's part of the Syndicate. I mean, she's the leader of Crimson Dawn right now.
Now, see, that's what they need is a Star Wars Scoundrels game where you play.
That's really what this game is.
Literally what's coming out.
Oh, God, I'm gonna have to buy a fucking new system.
Outlaws. Yes,
Outlaws.
thank you,
I
George.
was gonna. I think it's called Star Wars Scoundrels or something,
Yeah.
but Star Wars Outlaws. That's what.
Yeah, it's coming out either later this year or 2025. I can't remember which.
Great. Now I have to buy a PlayStation 5.
Yeah. You do.
I mean, I was gonna have to anyway, so I could play fucking Jedi Survivor. But
Oh yeah, play those games. Those are so good.
Yeah, I need to play the second one.
I've played the Fallen Order,
Yeah.
Is it-
and it was
Survivor is-
fantastic.
I was
Survivor
gonna
was
say,
great.
Ron, do you like it because you kind of look like you?
I
mean,
went to Comic Con as Cal Kestis, so I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
That's right.
He had a little what's the droid? I can't remember.
BD1.
BD1.
Thank you.
Dude, I have my Lego BD1 right here. That was such a
Nice.
fun one to put together. I love it.
Anyway,
I-
I gave this a 7.25. I really enjoyed this movie. And
Ow. This ranked way higher than it probably should have.
but
Good thing
I mean,
Ron nuked the score.
I know, Ron's always saving grace here.
here's the thing though, like thinking back on my memories, the only movies that I didn't really like Star Wars wise, and especially with what we've watched, and was the Clone Wars, because I had a higher memory of that, but upon the rewatch, it's like, no, this is actually is bad. And then Rise of Skywalker. When we get to Rise of Skywalker, it's going to be like, it'll be above 5 probably for me, but like it's not going to be in the 7s and the 8s that I've been giving the rest of these. That's just me. I did make up a spreadsheet of everybody's scores earlier today, but for some reason it didn't save, so I'll have to redo that later.
By the way,
but-
August 30th, 2024 this year, Star Wars Outlaws is released.
Perfect.
So very
Okay.
soon.
So yeah, actually, let's see, this is coming out in
3 months? 4 months? 4 months.
It's
4-ish.
May, June, July, August. Yeah, 3 months. So
Right.
lovely. So we get a combined score of 6.4, which
Not bad.
drops it in at number 35 out of 98, just behind the Batman versus Dracula and Superman 2 at 6.5, and just above the Vault of Horrors at 6.3.
Where does it reside in the Star Wars time?
Yes. Again, I had everything all sit there.
That was on
and then
there too. Okay,
it's
never.
lost. I don't know where it's
We'll
at.
find out in a few weeks.
If I just going by what I'm going here, we've got
It was
Star
probably
Wars:
like,
Revenge of the Sith at 7.08.
hmm
So that's above it.
I was gonna say probably second
Yeah, it's probably second or third.
because I
Looks like
nuked
it-
one, and two, so
Yeah, episode 1 was a 5.65.
hmm
2 was a 4.85,
hmm
and Clone Wars was a 3.88. So yeah, this is currently the second one.
yeah.
Okay. I think it's a good spot for
There
it to
you
be. I think that's a fair number.
So
I'm done with it.
very,
It's
very good.
still early. You know what I mean? Like it's still early in watching.
I mean, we are almost halfway through. This was movie number 5, right?
Of 12?
Or was this
Yeah,
4 or
5.
No, it's
This is
5. Yeah,
5.
because Clone Wars. Yeah, so we're just about halfway through of the 12 movies. So we're doing good. We're kicking it.
Mm.
But yeah, that's it for now. Jordan, where can they find you? If they
You
want
can
to
go
find
to
you.
BS and Craft Beer on Instagram. And if you do want to go and fact check me on how I actually felt about this movie when it first came out, my episode on Wreck My Podcast is still on YouTube. And like I was saying at the beginning, it's the first episode Cam was ever on. Technically, when I met Cam, and then he just stuck around for 3 years afterwards. So go check out that episode on YouTube. See if what I said then is what I'm saying now, or if I just am a wishy-washy kind of person.
Well, and that was what you said 3-4 years ago, like that.
No, it was right
Your
after it came
opinions
out. in
6
theater.
years ago.
It was
6 years ago.
Oh yeah, math.
It was
I do,
literally
I do,
the weekend
I do
it
math
opened.
good.
Yeah, no math good.
Hard to believe that this movie is actually 6 years old because I feel like it was just like 2 years ago this movie
Mhm.
came out.
Pandemic brain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It was like 20 years ago when this movie came out. Yep.
It was either 2 years ago or 20 years ago. It's nothing in the middle.
Yep.
Chuck, where can they
Yeah.
find you?
Well, most importantly, you can find the ability to hit the show over at patreon.com/professional. Hit 301. Give us your money.
Yeah.
Thank
Well, he did.
you. That's all I'm asking. That's all I want. Just give us fucking money, or Do we have to come rob you? Because we will. Do you understand me? 301. It's not that hard. That's less than a cup of coffee, and you'll maybe get something from us. Who knows? Yeah, if we had patrons, we'd be more inclined to actually do
Patreon content.
for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and see, one of your patrons is just on the show, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Yes, Joey.
We may be more inclined.
It's Joey. It's not me.
Yeah. That's how it works.
I pay myself, I guess. Actually, no,
See, I don't. I won't even.
I was at the Elite 8 tier.
Yeah, his own here. He for a penny. Why you need to go to Patreon.com/professional casual 301 Joe, get your penny. He can all then support himself. But more importantly, you can find the archives. Also, go check the archives. All the things that we've reviewed. And you can find me on Instagram and TikTok, Kicked Out of the Hood, Noe and Kicked. You can find my hobby page, Kicked Out of the Hobby, being kicked if you like miniature stuff.
Man, he's been popping off on there too. He's had a lot of content recently.
Well, at time of release, it's been Mayhem month, so I've been trying to post something one day, month of May.
Very nice.
It seems like we can also find Chuck in real life next to like llamas and stuff at farmers markets, apparently. So
Yo,
that's where I'm going. To find him.
I was corrected. I called them a llama in front of the people, and they're like, "We're alpacas."
This is not the Emperor's New Groove, Chuck.
Yeah, I was like, I apologize. I know the difference, and that was my mistake because then they just started talking to me about it. But, I did get not only to meet Michael Simon, but I proceeded to guardrails and definitely a bunch of elite shit to meet him. So, that was interesting. So
very cool.
Yeah,
Rob.
You can find me on TikTok and Instagram at Good at This Game. You can find my art page on Instagram at Good Art This Game. And I've got something in the works for our Redbubble and TeePublic store. So keep an eye out.
It has sampled possibly to us, and I believe it exists. So if it is true, what Ron has done, it may seem to be the greatest merch that's ever been released. if it is true,
yeah, we gotta get.
Ron also has to figure out how to get it to Joey. So there's a good chance this thing will never see the light of day.
Maybe we'll see.
Joey, where can they find you at, bud?
When he gets it to me, then I actually have to, upload it, and that
you have to remember what TeePublic login is.
For real, like I haven't done anything for TeePublic or Redbubble in like a year or so. So yeah. Anyway, you guys can find me on Instagram and Threads at Comic Book Rundown. You can find, or you can email us comicbookrandown@gmail.com. Rate and review us on your podcasting app of choice. If you do, we'll read them on an upcoming episode. I actually do have a couple in the Gmail that I got, but they are I'll say spammers, like asking
read
me
them anyway.
We will, but maybe we'll do that on like maybe
send it to me and I'll read them. Yeah.
Maybe not Patreon. That'd be kind of whatever. Let's see what else we got. We got our merch we have merch over in Redbubble and TeePublic, like we just said, and our song was done by Cam,
who's a dad now.
Is he a dad now? Okay.
Yeah,
Daddy Dr. Cam,
like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, a little baby.
As we all know, he became a doctor so he deliver the child. I believe that is canon.
Yes.
Said on the show. So.
Excuse me, I have a PhD in fine arts. Let me deliver this baby.
Is there a doctor on the plate? I'm a doctor.
I'm a doctor. I can draw his being healed.
Let me show you what's wrong with you in a really nice font.
Love it. Our next movie it's a DC movie. We're going to watch Stardust. This is a movie I've never seen.
Fuck is Stardust?
Yeah, I thought that was a character in wrestling.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's a Neil Gaiman.
I like Stardust. It's a really good movie. Okay. I think, anyways.
Is it animated?
No, it's not live action.
When did
it's based on a Neil Gaiman book.
See,
Which
Neil
Neil
Gaiman.
Gaiman then made it into a comic. DC approached him and made it into a comic.
I never heard about any of this. That's so
Oh,
funny.
so Neil Gaiman's actually a pretty famous writer.
I mean,
Anyway.
Yeah, I get nervous when I hear Neil Gaiman and then I hear Ron likes it. So
Neil
that
Gaiman's
means I'm
great,
just
though.
gonna have to sit through Willow again. I don't know if I want to do that.
Oh, that's fair. I love it. But all right, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
I'm about to do a Jordan now and Scooby-Doo.